So how about we get started? So since I'm not sure. So Kevin Byrne, your Putnam County Executive. I know some other people might be coming a little bit later because I think we were usually going to do this at 9 and then we were going to do this at 8. So and then snow kind of just delays things. That happens. I pride myself on being the most transparent, accessible county executive this county's had. So I do that in multiple ways. We've done live stream teletown halls, whether it's on social media or on YouTube channels for the county. We've also done constituent forums. I did this in the assembly when I represented most of the county, not the town of Kent, but most of the county. Every year I was the state assemblyman, and I would do them in different formats. So as county executive, I don't feel there's any reason you can't do the same thing. We're a small county. It's not the size of Nassau County or Westchester. You shouldn't need to wait for a state of the county address to go get in front of your county executive. So I do these multiple times a year. We've done them, we call them Trailblazing with Byrne. We do them at county parks and trailheads, whether it's the Empire State Trail that goes through most of Putnam County, not all of Putnam County. We've done them at Veterans Memorial Park, and we've done them at town parks too. And I do that as a way to promote some of our beautiful outdoor spaces in the county while being able to engage with the public and answer questions they have and listen to people and learn from them, because sometimes the best ideas are people that are ideas that are not your own, but are those that come from the community. So we do that. We've done them also in our libraries. So county government has a lot of strong partnership with our libraries. I often refer to them as kind of that utility arm in government, where they fill gaps in services where your town or your county or your state may not need or may not fill. So for example, access to information for our seniors, helping seniors that may have difficulty with computers. They have programs in our libraries. There's not daycare programs per se, but there's programming for the pre-K population that in other communities you might have to pay for. You go right to the library. So we've done these forums in our libraries. We've also done them in small businesses, at coffee shops. And then when we struggle to find a business that's open at the right time, we always have great partnerships with our friends in town and village government. So I'm grateful for our town council members. Sean Boyd's here, our town supervisor, Jamie McGlasson, who arranged for us to open the doors here at Town of Kent so we can have a similar forum here. So I've always tried to be over-prepared. We've come with like microphones and PA systems in case I get flooded with 100 people. We have these cards that we typically distribute. I don't think we need to do that today. That's like also probably I'm sure the inclement weather has deterred us, but this is for when there's like 50 people. So we make sure we're not asking the same question like 10 different times. And we make sure that we get your name and information. So if we don't get to the question, we get back to you. But when it's this small of a group, it's usually more informal. Raise your hand. I just like to know who I'm speaking with. So if you just say your name and what town you're from, that's enough. And the other thing that we try to do, that little camera over there, that's just to record the meeting. So if there's something that's very sensitive to you that you don't want to be on camera, I completely respect that. You can just fill out one of these cards and we will talk to you more privately, because sometimes you'll have people that come up and it's a public forum. So I want people that can't be here, if they want to hear what Kevin Byrne had to say and they disagree with me and they want to call me out, they can go to the tape, play the tape and do it. It's also a good way for me to defend myself if someone says I said something that I didn't say. So it goes right on our county YouTube channel. It's not live streamed because we only do that when we're set up for most part in a county office space where we know we have a reliable Wi-Fi service. So, but it is recorded and will be uploaded to the county YouTube channel. So things that people just happen to ask that are more inherently private. Someone has a question about Medicaid or social services. The county government has close to 700 employees. We have 23 different departments or 27 different divisions. So we take care of our county roads, we take care of emergency services, our 911 center. You could have a very personal, sensitive issue through an emergency that you experience with your family that you don't want other people to hear about. I understand that. That's not really what this forum is for, but if you're here to talk about something like that, I want you to know that we will certainly meet with you and talk to you, but you don't need to be on camera to do that. This is more about, other ideas, other questions. It's also, I can, give a couple of those brief highlights about some of the things that we just rolled out recently. So I can tell you we've finished our 2026 budget was finalized in November of last year. In it, we did a lot of important things. The legislature increased the spending by about $8 million. So the county budget's about $229 million. That's a big number. But by per capita, when you look at our surrounding counties in the Hudson Valley region, we're still spending less per person than all those other counties. So I like to highlight that because it shows that we're controlling spending and taxation. And we are one of the highest taxed regions in America. It's just New York State is the highest total tax burden. When you look at income taxes, property taxes, payroll taxes, sales tax, the whole gamut, New York State has some of the highest tax burdens. Putnam County is in the center of that, so is Westchester. But if you look at the county portion of your property tax bill, it's about 9% of your total property tax bill. That's where I can control the tax burden. And what I can tell you is, in our budget, and we've been joined by one of our Putnam County legislators, Laura Russo, represents mostly Patterson. The county portion, we've made a lot of progress in driving down that portion of the property tax bill. I can't control your school taxes or your town taxes, but on the county portion, we've been able to actually reduce the property tax levy over 3 years by $2.5 million. So that's big money. And when you look at the sales tax that we rely on to fund a lot of the county operations and business, and now we're actually sharing a portion of that revenue with towns, specifically for infrastructure improvements and projects, which is really important. So it helps incentivize responsible economic development, which grows more sales tax. We've given relief by eliminating sales tax on clothing and footwear under $110. And I always get some chuckles, where are you going to buy shoes and clothes really in Putnam County? Well, it's 2026. You see those Amazon trucks all over the place. Online sales is included. So if you go and you buy clothes or shoes, you won't pay any sales tax in Putnam County. And that is a more targeted benefit towards residents, because obviously if you're buying online and you're getting that benefit in Putnam County, that means you have to live here, you're a resident here. And it makes sales tax less aggressive, so those that have lesser income or are more on fixed incomes, it's a better benefit for them. We rolled out a new community paramedicine program in November, which is leading the way. First county in the state to have a county-wide community paramedicine growth program. It's mobile integrated health, so paramedics can provide treatment to people and care in their home, not just emergency medicine. It's a really big deal. Strengthens our health system, helps free up hospital beds in the emergency department, which saves taxpayer money at the state level, specifically on Medicaid, because paying Medicaid in the hospital systems or emergency department visits costs a heck of a lot more than for a paramedic visit in your home. We're expanding micro-transit and on-demand transit, which is you see in Patterson, parts of Carmel. We have other really exciting things, new fire and EMS training facility to support all of our local fire agencies across the county, and we've been working really closely with the town of Kent. But I always say politicians talk too much. I've given you some little glimpse as to what we're dealing with. There are a lot of challenges ahead, specifically as we have to deal with some of the unfunded mandates that come from Albany and Washington. There are federal revenue streams, state revenue streams that we also rely on to fund state and local government. So we're always mindful of those things, regardless of who's in charge in Washington or Albany. But we have to be mindful of those now. And I noticed some folks, I think, that have been driven here by the utility issue, and whether it's NICEC, also it's the cost of power. We're affected by that too. Not just as a county, regionally. Obviously, I live here, I'm your county executive, I live in Putnam County, but not a surprise that the county government is a big ratepayer as well, because we pay utility bills as part of your property taxes. So utility bills go up, so that affects our county budget.
So what have you done for that?
Well, as a county, so we'll go into questions. Can you say your name?
So I'm sorry, I'm Gloria Maloney. I'm a 40-year resident of Carmel.
Just first name, I'm sorry, Miss.
Gloria.
Gloria, yeah.
40 years in Carmel.
Sure.
So, and now we're being practically forced to leave because of, one thing is my utility bill. Our utility bill went, in 40 years I've never had a bill over $400. Mm-hmm. My last bill was $968.
I'm with you on that.
And I only have 2 people living in my house.
So, I'm not NICEAG, so
I understand that, but the
So-
supervisor has written letters,
Sure.
so I wanna know
Well, I can give you, dozens and dozens of letters and
if, but
correspondence.
have you gotten responses? Like, where is the follow-up in this county for the residents?
I think part of the challenge is understanding the issue. So I wanna help there, I can tell you all sorts of things that I've done. I don't expect Kathy Holt to respond back to me, when I'm telling her how she has very assertively that the decisions that her predecessor, when she was lieutenant governor, and she as governor have made, have been catastrophic to our energy resilience. Well, that is the cause, that is a primary cause. There's different mechanisms and reasons for increased utility bills that we receive as the customer, right? I can tell you as the county executive, one of the things that we did, it's not gonna help you as a ratepayer, but it's gonna help you as a taxpayer, is one of the things that we did was we consolidated some of our divisions to try to, again, prioritize spending, and we created the Department of General Services, which includes central services, information technology, and our purchasing department. One of the things that they did, our Commissioner John Tully, very mindful of this, with support from our Deputy County Executive, Jim Burpo, was they were able to negotiate and lock in. There's windows of opportunity for large customers to lock in rates on energy price. And they were able to do that earlier. So we're able to leverage our ability as a county government to the extent that we can. We're still affected, just like everybody else. And we're still affected by cold snaps. We're still affected by a lot of other things when usage goes to the roof. Now, as a regulatory authority, I have zero influence other than an advocate. So I don't get to appoint members of the Public Service Commission. I don't get to get to be on the Energy Committee in the Assembly or the Senate anymore to wag the finger at the CEO of NICEAG, the Public Service Commission, or NYSERDA, which is a state agency. Your state representatives can do that. They have done that.
They have not followed up on it.
No,
None of them are following up.
I would respectfully disagree and ask you to go and look at some of the material that has been put out by our state assemblyman, Matt Slater.
Right, I saw that, yes.
Sure. So he represents this town.
But he sent letters, but we're not getting any responses back.
So what I would say, so that there's at least where I'm at. Now, asking or responding to, is it fair to say that you're here about the utilities too?
Absolutely.
So if you want to go, you just Google it, you'll find like dozens of things from me. But as recent as late last year and a couple times late last year. So rate case is one issue. A rate case is when the utility company is asking permission from the state's Public Service Commission for an increase in your rates. So they're doing that for all sorts of reasons.
And another one's coming in March, 32%.
Sure.
Wow.
That those rate cases are requests from the utilities. So, and they will have their reasons that they try to justify to the state's Public Service Commission. The last several rate cases, I've been very visibly and publicly on record, going back about 10 years on this, because they have consistently tried to increase rates. Now, vegetation management, which is like tree trimming, I'm all for it. Clear those damn trees. But every once in a while, we get some resistance from folks. There's a little bit of, local property resistance about it. Like, look, it's the biggest reason for outages is trees coming down on power lines. So to the extent that they can responsibly trim trees, if that's what I'm going to pay a little bit more, so I have a stronger, grid, I'm fine with that.
Well, the issue is the delivery charges.
Sure. So that's
triple our electric.
Sure. So, well, that's, I think, where the information is going to be important to you. So rate cases, those rate cases more on the delivery. So when you're paying your utility bill, you're paying NICEAG to get the energy to you. You're not, NICEAG is kind of your intermediary. They're not controlling the price or the cost of the energy itself. You are paying for them to get the energy to you. So they're not running the power plant. Back in the day, Con Ed used to run Indian Point, one of the biggest disastrous mistakes, which if you go back in time, I was a state assemblyman They shut down Indian Point within the first 10 days when I was in office. I don't even represent Portland, but I represent Putnam Valley. 5 minutes outside the Indian Point. Over 1,000 employees lost their jobs, and they took 2,000 megawatts of power off the grid. So they did it without any plan to replace that power. You can't do that and expect to, the supply and demand dynamics to not be affected. Of course it's going to be affected. You replace 2,000 well, you don't even replace it. You remove 2,000 megawatts of base load power, it's going to have a negative impact. And then you couple it with things like the CLCPA. I know these are it's government speak with all these alphabet soup acronyms. Does anyone know what the CLCPA is? Okay, Climate Leadership Community Protection Act. Nice lovey-dovey name for New York's Green New Deal. That's what that is. So I voted against it, debated against it when I was in the Assembly, they made it law. A lot of unrealistic climate leadership goals that the state needs to meet, which they've targeted through various energy plans and scoping plans at the state that were going to do things as ridiculous as banning wood firing stoves and wood burning. That's how crazy it was. So for the folks that can't make the utility bills that want to put some fire in a fireplace, couldn't do that. It was ridiculous stuff. They rolled back some of that, and the only way we've been able to effectively do that over the years, and I'm speaking to experience now as a former assemblyman, is through shaming them. It's through public pressure. It's through advocacy. It's through speaking up at those public statement hearings and filing public comments and going up and giving testimony. I gave testimony countless times at the Indian Point Closure Task Force meeting. They needed to have replacement power. They said they were going to rely more on natural gas. Natural gas is great. I support natural gas. Doesn't give us those 1,000 jobs that we had at Indian Point. Doesn't give us 2,000 megawatts of power, but it probably gets us a third or a quarter of the way there if they actually open it and are online. The real problem is those projects haven't materialized the way they were promised. Kathy Hochul's only made it harder for infrastructure for natural gas to actually be built out. She has not embraced small modular reactors, which is basically that new nuclear technology that they should have, which is really important. She says she supports it when it comes to upstate New York, when they're bailing them out and subsidizing them with their tax dollars, but it's apparently not good enough for us in the Hudson Valley when it comes to Indian Point. And speaking of county government specifically, Putnam County used to get hundreds of thousands of dollars a year from Indian Point to help maintain our emergency management services. And we're not getting a lot of that anymore because Indian Point's no longer a functioning nuclear power plant. So all those things have made a very negative impact. I mentioned Matt Slater because I know he's been outspoken on this. All of our state representatives don't have the same philosophy. Some of them voted for the CLCPA. Some of them wag the finger at the utilities, but then they don't take ownership for their decision that skyrocketed the cost of the actual energy.
None of them are doing anything really for us.
Well, Matt's, I can tell you, something that Slater's calling for, the governor's call a state of emergency. I think that's a very sensible approach because she could unilaterally then put in some of the price controls that she could need. She could also use it to break through the logjam of bureaucracy and build out our energy capacity. Instead, she's pandering to these, far left greenies that want to build a giant cable from Quebec, Canada, to have hydroelectric power all the way down the Hudson River. It's the CHIPPY is another alphabet soup acronym. I forget what it actually stands for because I haven't been in Albany in a while. But they want to build a hydroelectric power cable that goes all the way down to fund and provide New York City its energy needs. That's not going to work. You can't replace 2,000 megawatts of baseload power with intermittent power like solar or wind. It's not going to be viable. And then you have these drastic cold snaps. The demand's through the roof. The supply's not there. And then you have things like data centers and all these the energy demand is through the roof right now across the country. It wasn't that long ago we were an energy dominant country and we're trying to claw our way back there. However, the energy demand is a lot more now than it was 5, 6, 7 years ago. So as county executive, I've written op-eds, You can go online. Yeah, I think I did an op-ed with, I'm a member of a group called ACE, American City County Exchange. One of my colleagues on it is a commissioner, county commissioner for Pennsylvania County in Maine. We both did a joint op-ed that was put in the Washington Reporter, supporting a lot of the federal government's policies to become an energy dominant country and maintain energy independence. Not relying on foreign countries is pretty important. But that is the biggest issue in my opinion, is building out our energy capacity and making sure that you have that supply side. You can't effectively control energy prices. And the utility is part of the problem. I've opposed all those rate cases. It is part of the problem. I'm not
May I say something?
But it's not. Sure, 1 second. But it's not. It is important to recognize that is not the whole reflection of your bill. A lot of your bill too, about 30% of it, is also hidden taxes and fees to Albany. So she could suspend those taxes and fees with an emergency right away. And I think that's one of the ideas our assemblyman mentioned. I think that was very innovative. I think she should listen to him. And you got some of the price, the day ahead price of energy is almost going up $1,000 for some people. It's insane. So
More than their social security checks.
yeah, it's
How do they live?
insane. So I think your regulators are at the state level. All I can do is write letters and go to them and be an advocate. But I can't fire the Public Service Commission. I don't get to
Public
confirm.
Service Commission has passed it on to nobody. I have exhausted
So NISO, and this lady would like to ask a question, so I want to be able to get to you. NISO is the New York State Independent System Operator. They're the ones that really are responsible for me. And look, I'm not responsible for overseeing any of this anymore as a county executive. I'm just sharing information because of my experience, which is unique from having state, federal, and county government experience. NISO is the one that's responsible for maintaining the grid and typically monitors that price that's of what the cost of energy is going to be. And they're the ones that provide reports and updates to those regulators and lawmakers in Albany and the governor. The Public Service Commission is who needs to approve. They need to vote and approve or deny the rate case. AJ Bepan is an assemblyman from Dutchess County. I don't know if any of you know him. He's got some creative legislation that's happening. I'm friends with him. And his legislation would call for legislative approval at the state level if there's going to be significant rate cases beyond a certain amount of rate increases. Because we all know this game they play. They come through like a crazy astronomical increase. They want a rate case of like 40%. We all scream and holler and write letters. And then you know what happens? Public Service Commission, they say, okay, we're gonna approve it, but it's 20%. I don't know, 20% is pretty goddamn high too. So, but they always do that, like they inflate their original ask, and they do that. But that's the rate case. That's not, I think, what we're seeing here over the last month. I think that's more of a supply side issue, and it's an energy issue, and it's because of the bonehead policies coming out of Albany and their Green New Deal. But Miss, I'm sorry, I want you to be able to answer your question.
No, I just wanted to give you an example. In December, it was 23 cents a kilowatt. January was 89 cents a kilowatt.
Mm-hmm.
That's on peak. Off peak, it was 16 cents a kilowatt. Now it's 69 cents a kilowatt, 67 cents a kilowatt. That's in 1 month, and it's going to go up again. It's over $900.
It's tripled hard.
I have 2 meters, not just one. That's just 1 meter, $900 and something. For the basement, it's another meter, and it's done the same thing.
And you're being double charged for the delivery charge. For both
Yeah,
meters.
and I'm just like,
To the
yes,
same address.
it's not same house,
Yes, I was.
same thing.
So we need a meeting with the governor then. We need you to bring her down here to
Do
Buckingham.
you think I have that power?
Well, I don't know, we're done.
I'm flattered. I'm flattered that you
We're
think.
done, we're done. My
I
husband's
understand.
already, he wants out of New York.
I-
And I'm begging to stay because I have grandchildren. So I'm here 40 years. I don't want to leave right now.
Yeah, I'm flattered that you. I'm flattered that you think I have that.
I'm here
authority.
73 years, and my house 51 years. And it's like, okay, now what do I do?
Yeah.
Look for someplace else to live? And
Right.
I think
This
I
summer?
would tell you right now, your state representatives are your best path. I can tell you with a high level of confidence.
I called Hackman's office, he did zip up. zip up.
Well, there's parking.
So, okay, so I.
I think you're preaching to the choir here.
I haven't slept in 2 months since I got my December bill, and that's honest with you, okay? Because I'm scraping around where I'm gonna pay these bills. So everyone has come up with an excuse or passed it on to the buck to the next one. So now I'm done, like, we're done. We don't know where else to go. So that's why I said, let's come here and speak to you, because like, what else do we do as a Putnam County resident? We are strapped.
Sure.
We're being raped by them. Okay, and it's sad to say, but my bills have tripled.
Yeah.
With 2 people in my house.
Exactly.
I owned a business. I ran a daycare in my house for 40 years. I've never had a bill over $400. I retired and my bills are $968. And that's for one bill.
I brought my bills with me, if you want to look at it.
So, look, I think you're preaching to the choir. Look, I'm flattered that anything I can get the governor down here. I'll invite her. I'll call her.
I want you to publicly invite her.
Sure.
Publicly.
I call her.
Even though I can't stand her, I'm not.
I have called, she's not, I have ordered her.
I agree.
Yeah, we're all in the same,
I think we gotta live in reality.
Yeah.
So you have state representatives, and people like, people like Rob Rollinson, who's over on the west side of the county, who represents Dutchess, and Matt Slater, who I think have been consistently sounding the alarm. I understand this doesn't feel like a visible issue often until you get the bill. But we've been sounding the alarm about this for 10 years. This was gonna happen. So,
Let me tell you.
that's fair. And then there are some people that are trying to give solutions to build out capacity and be solutions oriented and do something about utility bills and the cost of energy. And there are those that are trying to pretend it's the corporation and it's all NYSEG. And they're the ones giving you that bad news. I'm not a defender of NYSEG. I have been very critical of them, particularly I think on some ridiculous rate case requests that they've had over the years. But at the end of the day, it's disingenuous for politicians to be like, yeah, go to the CEO who's making X, Y, Z money. It's when that politician voted for a lot of these bonehead policies. I think that is a big, big part of the problem.
It is, but when you call NYSEG to ask them questions, you get the biggest runaround.
She told me.
I'm a NYSEG ratepayer.
They told me 29% of my electricity is coming out of my kitchen. So I said to her, I have the smallest kitchen in Putnam County and I don't cook. We go out to eat all the time. It's the 2 of us. But my electrician just updated everything. So I called the electrician yesterday and he said to me, if my lights cost 5 cents a day, that's a lot because they're all LEDs and they're very small. He said, there's no way NYSEG can tell you where the power's coming from with 1 meter. So they're bullshitting us constantly. I have called 5 times and I got 5 different stories right now.
Do you use the smart meter?
Yeah. I'm not blaming this one.
That's interesting. There's a lot of different thoughts on that too. Like
I'm sorry, sir.
my mind was like, we're not doing a smart meter, like smart meter.
Yeah, that's what this has happened since the smart meter, like it was pre-planned.
Get more visibility.
And they,
Yeah.
to me, they said, well, we're not gonna be able to come here and fix anything if anything went wrong if you don't change it, because I didn't want this smart meter.
But we need
And I
answers.
had no choice.
My entire social security check this month, thank God I have a husband because I would be dead.
So, look, I think, again, the regulators over energy and utilities are your state and to an extent federal government based on if you want to help generate more energy supply to meet the demand, that's gonna really fall on our state and federal representatives. And I think you got, our congressman has been very much supportive of expanding our energy capacity, so has our state assemblyman. There are others that have, quite frankly, I think pandered to folks that are more activists on the environmental side, and they may be well-intentioned, but there are real costs to these decisions. And some of the most ridiculous ones, like banning outdoor wood burning, I mean, it's insane. For those that have pellet stoves, I mean, that was nuts. So we always try to get them back from like reining in the lunacy. And unfortunately, I mean, like, I don't try to make this, I try to make this as not political. It's more about questions and answers, more about what's the county doing, how can I help you. But the reality is, people that are like-minded to me, that are gonna speak like me and make sure that you have the information that I'm sharing with you. They're in the minority in Albany right now. We used to have a Republican-led state Senate. We haven't since 2017. They were a massive check on some of the more excessive, radical policies that were coming out of Albany. We don't have that anymore. In fact, I think the state Senate is more radical than the Assembly. And I'm saying that as someone that knows a lot of the folks up there. Over the last couple of years, some of the most dangerous policies have ironically come out of the state Senate because the political dynamic has shifted so dramatically. And the Assembly has been kind of stopping it a little bit. But they're controlled largely by the city of New York. The city of New York is, and their activism has been really pushing some of these policies. And you have a governor who, in my opinion, politically is afraid of her own shadow and is constantly pandering to a far left group. So she wants all those little badges of endorsements for her political future, and she's concerned less on the actual policies affecting ratepayers. And for her, it's easier for her to wag the finger at a utility where she, in a roundabout way, is approving a lot of this, that they're giving you this bad news. So we've done letters on rate cases. I'll do more. I can share with you probably about, I would think easy, I could find probably in 10 minutes, 10 different articles over the last year that we have called out the governor. I defended President Trump on his energy policies. And we've called out, also I think we're lucky in that we have a good EPA administrator. I think Lee Zeldin is doing a good job in the Environmental Protection Administration.
Yes, good.
He's not, the energy czar, he's the EPA czar. But what do you think is the cudgel that the federal government will use to try to block energy development? A lot of it they have used under the previous administration, the EPA they would use to try to block advancements in energy. I hear Lee Zeldin speak, he's a friend, he's talking about unleashing American energy dominance. That's what you need. And the thirst for energy, it's an addiction, it's not going away. These data centers are popping up everywhere, and I don't want one here to say that. I think they would cause a giant revolt if you had a data center right here. But the reality is I also don't want them in foreign countries.
Right.
I don't want our data being housed in Saudi Arabia or somewhere else. I want to have control over our own power, and so we're getting these cybersecurity threats are crazy. But the thirst for energy, it's not going away. So nuclear is something I've always been unapologetically supportive of. Atomic energy is the best, quickest way to get expansion of base load power. It's carbon-free emissions, so you're not, even if you're not a climate activist, you don't believe in climate change, you know what? I think we all can believe that I don't want to breathe in like emissions, in the air. So yeah, having carbon zero emissions is a good thing. And nuclear power is, I think, the best way to do it. Yes, there is waste from spent fuel rods and things like that, but with SMRs, I think it creates new opportunities, and the state needs to be embracing that. But even if they do, it'll take them several years to get it online. So if she did declare an emergency, she could act swiftly and make some real meaningful impact. So that's why I think someone was there had a really good idea. Sorry, Ms. Henry, you were talking about your bill specifically. Is there any other, I know that's why you wanted to be here, but is there other topics?
No, it's
questions?
just that if you have nice said questions to come and see you. So that's why we
what I would say is if there's a specific, this is where just because I can't, I don't have a magic wand, I can't
No,
summon the
we
governor.
understand that.
But I
We
can't,
need
I
some
can be an
type of
advocate.
guidance or something.
Sure.
We're struggling.
Sure, and I can be an advocate.
I can tell you that I did call the Public Service Commission. First you have to call NISAC, then you have to voice your complaint to them, then they don't do nothing, so you're allowed to call the Public Service Commission and make a formal complaint. When you make a formal complaint, they want to close that case immediately, so they're going to offer you money. So only one time for that month will they do that. So they offered me a very small amount of money because they wanted to close my case. So, and then the next bill, when it's higher than this last bill,
Yeah.
you can open up another case. So every month.
Every month you gotta.
Every month you have to go through the motions of being time consuming, but you can get a little bit of money back every month if you open up a claim every month with that. That's as far as I've gotten right now, and I've been on this for 2 months with everybody. So, And I feel like I'm nowhere. Everybody watches their hands
Exactly.
and moves you to the next person. So
Yeah. That's the
Well,
right.
we're actually drowning. The county's drowning.
So, I would
We're
say,
drowning in our school taxes, our property taxes, our electric bills, our medical bills. We're drowning in everything. So,
yeah, no, well,
But
I would say
because I'm
it's not
retired-
specific to this, it's not specific to just this county though.
well, I'm
It is-
only concerned right now about my county.
Sure, but
don't
this
care.
this is a massive, national, statewide issue that affects every region, including every county. But more so here, the Hudson Valley, there's a couple of counties that are like skating a little bit like.
Putnam's,
I can't.
Putnam's gotta be a little bit higher, because I talk to people, and they say ours went up a little bit, but not like that, and I'm like, what is this?
So, Putnam is high. My town taxes went up as
Well,
well.
then we're talking about different issues, but yes.
Yes.
I'm just saying,
So-
we're being taxed out.
If you want to talk about affordability, I'm happy to talk about that. We're gonna kind of move on a couple different other issues.
Well,
Let's
what
say
are your suggestions? Where do we go from here with our NICEAG?
Specifically to NICEAG, if you have information that you want to give to our office, I am more than happy to be an advocate, write to NICEAG, the Public Service Commission, and be an advocate for you directly. So, will that help? Having it signed by the county executive, sending it to the Public Service Commission? I think it would probably open their eyeballs.
Why don't you just
more.
do that on the call for everybody?
I can, I already told you I've done it. So I've done that in the Washington Reporter, I've done that in the New York Post, I've done that publicly with letters that have been covered in the media like repeatedly over the last decade, but more so even over the last 2 years, including the last 6 months. So I've done that. So I've said that, I'll say it again. I don't want to.
Could you call a meeting with Slater and have him talk to us NICEAG problems?
Sure, I saw him this last night, but what I'm saying, for you specifically, you asked what I could do for you.
Yeah.
If you want to give us your information, in addition to everything else that we've already done, which I think is pretty well documented and I shared with you today, I'm happy to write a letter and say, look, this is our shared constituent, your ratepayer, my resident, this is an extreme hardship that they're experiencing, and advocate for you. I can't promise you they're going to do anything, but I can certainly do that. I'm happy to do that. Anyone that reaches out, we try to do that. We've always been an office, whether I was an assemblyman or your county executive, where we're constituent service oriented. So you don't have to wait for a forum like this, or one at a park or at a deli or whatever, to meet with me. If you reach out to our office, we have an amazing team. Jackie Huffey is our chief of staff. She's here. She's a former town supervisor in Putnam Valley. She's very familiar with dealing with these rate case issues, and a lot of my sensitivities and experiences with the utilities are not just about on the payer side, right? The town's a payer. They're a rate payer.
Absolutely.
So your town taxes get hosed too.
Yeah, they already
Because
are.
if their utility, our rate's going up, they're a giant rate payer, right? The hospital is a giant rate payer.
Yeah, you can
So
also-
there's all, you want to talk about inflation, so we should move towards affordability, right? So affordability, I already told you, we cut property taxes on the county level, biggest property tax cut in history. I understand that your school taxes, your town taxes, your state income taxes were the most punitive, harmful tax that you can introduce in the public sector because it punishes work and it disincentivizes work. But on the county level, we have cut property taxes by more than any administration before. We've also made sales tax less regressive. So we've made, documented, quantifiable, steps, and we've had successes on making and tackling the affordability crisis on a county level. The bigger issue is New York as a state is still ranked 50th out of all states for economic outlook. It is one of the most unaffordable states to live in. We are constantly leading the nation in out-migration, with more people leaving the state than coming in, right? So the cost of living and taxes are one of the main drivers for that. Also, it's the cost to do business, right? So if you want to build something in New York, it costs a lot more here than it does in other states. There's a lot of reasons for that. But if you look at what's the driving force behind inflation, which I think has tempered, the problem is it was through the roof over the last 5 years. So great, it's tempered, but it's still we're at a point where it's so high, it may have stabilized a little bit, but we're still stuck with these high costs. So what if we got the price of eggs down a little bit? We're still dealing with high costs. And one of the biggest drivers is energy costs. It's always, it's the big, I think it's over 20-30% of inflation is attributed to high energy costs, which is why when we had, I mean, just think back to like, for the last 20 years, we have all these issues with OPEC, and we shouldn't be relying more on Middle Eastern oil to supply our country for its energy needs. We should be an energy independent country. We should be an energy, independent or self-reliant state. When we have the opportunity to frack and develop a large supply of natural gas, we should be doing that in upstate New York where we can. But you also got to support the infrastructure, the pipelines to do it. And look, we want to have a good relationship with our friends in Canada. I don't view them as like an enemy. They should be allies. Whatever. Fine. Great. I'm happy to support them. But I don't want to be overly reliant on any foreign nation, including Canada, for our energy needs, including, you know, the supply of energy for the city of New York. I think that's crazy. Because then they can just turn off the switch. So, you know, I'm sure there'll be a bunch of safeguards trying to prevent that from happening, but I think that's a bad position for our country and our state to be in. And look, I do care about the environment. The Hudson River, I know we're in Kent. It's not right here, but it's part of Putnam. It's part of Putnam County. I don't think it's beneficial to have a giant cable going down the Hudson River when people enjoy it. It's a beautiful gem that brings people into New York. People like the seasons, they like the history that we have here. I don't want to see barges on the Hudson River. I don't want to see a giant hydroelectric powered cable on the Hudson River either. But affordable, I can talk about that too.
So I have another question that's
Sure.
trying to go closer with the county.
Okay.
For fees, like, I had an experience where we had a swimming pool in our backyard. The pool got knocked down by a tree. It was an oval pool. So it was up there for 20 years or whatever. I had to go to the town because we had to put a new pool up.
Mm-hmm.
So because we went with a round pool, we had to pay a building fee. And I thought that was ridiculous. And I'm like, that's a way you could save taxpayers a little bit of money here and there. The pool was up, we had a permit for it, everything was perfect. The tree knocked it down, we're replacing it with a round instead of oval, and we have to pay another price for a permit. And we already had a permit, so the town of Carmel went berserk. Oh, I paid it, of course, because we needed to, but like that was $55 that I shouldn't have had to pay, I don't think. I already paid it once, you know. So things like that you guys don't see directly, we're getting hit with little crap like that, and that's effective for us.
Well, so what I would just say, there's a couple of things I can help share that. I don't live in an ivory tower. I live in a small split level of land back in Carmel. I've lived in this county my entire life. I've lived in this county for 41 years. The fees and permits process that you have to go through, I gotta go through with the town of Carmel. So I don't live in a vacuum. The governor lives in a mansion up in Albany. Like the mayor of New York City lives in a mansion down there. The president lives in the White House. The folks that represent you here in local, town, and county government live here, so we experience it too. As far as the county side, there are permits and fees for certain things that we rely on our county clerk and our DMV. There's ways for the county to offset some of the costs to provide services, and some of that is through transactional fees. Permit planning and building is inherently a town function, not a county function. So that's one that would be at the town level if you wanted to
So the
call for a
supervisor
reduction.
oversees that.
Yes.
Doesn't get involved.
Well, you could go to a town and see, like,
I go to the meeting.
okay, so that's the person that can control those fees. We've done things so for example, we already have a very low cost for our Veterans Park. I think it's like $8 gate pass. Honestly, we probably should just zero it out. If the legislature would, that's what I want to do. Maybe that's a good idea. Is the
Why can't you
legislature?
do that? Because it should be.
Because if it's a tax, I need the legislative branch to support it with me. I can't just do it myself. I can suspend local laws if I declare a state of emergency, but that's only for 5 days. So that's for an emergency. The governor can do it for a longer period of time, and the governor has a lot more power than the executive of a county government. But We have done that. So like when there was an extreme heat emergency, remember those Canadian wildfires and it was Armageddon around here? And we've had a couple of really high, it was over 105 degrees, declared a heat emergency. And I did that for a couple of reasons. So people would know, like, look, you gotta be careful, there's cooling stations, things like that. I don't want someone to have a heat stroke and go into the hospital. But also, we have a lot of these harmful algal blooms, a lot of these blue-green algae in the lake communities, including in the Carmel, and a lot of Carmel communities, a lot of lakes in the town of Carmel as well. You can't use a beach, so you gotta cool off. You can't go, well, we have a lake at our beautiful Veterans Park that people forget is there. So by declaring an emergency, I was able to suspend the fee for anyone that wanted to go for free. Right? Well, you can do that for 5 days. We have, with the legislature support, eliminated it for all first responders and veterans as a way to recognize them. I honestly would be open to eliminating it for all people that go in there. And if they want a beach permit, you could do that, like a beach pass. That's kind of common because we have to pay for the lifeguards, right? So it would make sense, why should property taxpayer pay for the lifeguards when they don't use the beach? So like if we have like 100 people that, rather than a day pass to go and walk and hike through the park, you know, just focus on people that are using the beach. That would be a nice way to do it. But I want, you know, we put funding in. Laura Russo was very, very helpful on this. I believe we're a county that thinks differently about being accessible and inclusive so people of every ability can come and get services. So we have a playground that's inclusive, and I'm sorry for using bunny ears here in air quotes, but inclusive by the standards of 2003 with Bob Bondi. That's great. It was well intentioned back in 2003. If you go to that playground at the lower lot at Veterans Park, I don't think it's inclusive anymore. Like it's got wood chips, it's got all these other things that it doesn't meet the same standard of today. So we have funding in our capital plan. We got some state grant funding to help offset the cost to make it a more inclusive playground. That's great. Truly accessible, inclusive playground. But is it really accessible if you have to pay an $8 charge to get there? No, it's not. So I would support eliminating it, but for us to do that on a permanent basis, the legislature would have to pass a resolution and I would have to sign it. I can't do it on my own. So particularly if it affects taxes, I have operational oversight over all of our departments. I can pass directives, and I'm the CEO of the county. But particularly if it's going to levy a new tax, it's checks and balances. I need the legislature to support it if it's an increase or a decrease. So, but we have done certain things, and I think the park was probably the most notable one. I think you were here for that. We did that 2 years ago. It was your first year. It was your first year.
Okay, so I have another question.
Sure. Is there? Well, hold on. I'm only going to ask because there's other people here. I don't want it to be just a monopolization. So I see. I'm gonna get look at him smile. I think he's gonna want to talk about retirees. It's a guess. Go ahead. Hold on. I'm gonna get coffee for this one.
Should I get one too?
You can all get coffee. You don't have to. I mean, I think you missed this, John. This is being recorded, and it goes to the county's YouTube channel. So anyone that misses this can come and watch. It's also someone wants to say I said something I didn't. It's good for me. I can point to the video. But if anyone wants to talk about anything private, it's highly sensitive, like it's a personal claim before an agency, and they don't want it on camera. Just, we have cards to fill out and talk to you privately. Like, I don't want you to feel like you have to say something if they're right on the camera. But there's coffee here. Don't feel like you have to wait. I can be talking to you guys, and if you want coffee, come on up. Don't feel like you're gonna be disrupted.
Are you avoiding my question?
I love our retirees. Go ahead. Well, you came in late. Go ahead.
Well, we want to make sure you got here for the snowstorm.
What's that?
You wanted to make sure you got here for this, for
Yes.
the snowstorm.
We will have more. This is one we do one in every town, every year, at least one. So, we'll do one in Carmel coming up. You can't go to Carmel, so we don't check where you live.
Well, we appreciate it, Kevin. And I've had conversations with you over the last couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
I was a probation officer in the county for almost 35 years.
Yep.
Retired. And like the cost of your electric bill, which we all feel, the cost of our health benefit was increased years ago, legislative body and county executive.
Years ago, thank you for saying that, before me.
Yeah, it was before you, but they're asking you to help us do something about it so we can afford our electric bills.
We're paying 3 times the amount that we're paying as full-time employees, and we're working on a 40% less salary. I pay 3 months of my salary goes to my health insurance. How is that fair? When I worked for this county for almost 34 years, well, I've lived in this county for 60 years. I've dedicated my entire career to this county, and this is how I get paid back. How do we change that?
So I want you to just finish what you gotta say so I can respond, because I don't want,
Well,
I can go, but I want you to be able to say what you
No,
gotta say.
Amy and I feel the same way, that's why we're here today. You know, both worked for the county for 30+ years,
Lived in the county and basically our entire life as well.
I volunteered my
Are you still
time.
retired?
Huh?
Are you still retired?
We both
We're
have
both
are
working.
working part-time to cover the cost of our.
Yeah, I'm working for the hospital, I'm doing part-time work for the youth bureau. So yeah, we're still working. Yeah. If we continue working for the county, you know, our full-time
You'd
career.
be paying less for your health
Yeah.
insurance.
So.
So,
You'd be paying us
well,
money for us to be employed at 40+ years.
Sure. So what I can share, so I just wanna make sure you get to say what you need to say before.
That's fine. Appreciate it.
So, what I can say is we have to prioritize, some of these issues at the time, because there's a cost to all these things. And, particularly with our public employees, past and present, there's a cost to these benefits that our public employees get. The health insurance that they get, some of the best health insurance coverage that you can buy. It's better than a lot of folks that work in the private sector, and it's one of the things that traditionally in the public side we've been able to use to recruit and retain a talented, skilled workforce, right? People will say, look, I might get a defined pension and health insurance. So that's typically one of the trade-offs, is like you may not be making a massive 6-figure salary, but you'll be getting these other things. So sometimes in some municipalities that gets skewed and you try to right that ship. What we have done, and I think that resolution that was done was what, 2019?
Yeah.
I think it was before COVID.
Right.
So one of the things that we did was, and I announced this last year, and we got to work, I think it last in March last year, put in the budget for 25, it took some time, was we created a blue ribbon or advisory committee consisting of some past and current employees, as well as including at least one union member from CSEA, and some very notable members of the community that were part of the Blue Ribbon Commission that made that recommendation to the legislature and executive so many years ago. But the person I put on that committee was someone who was very upset about that recommendation. And that was by design, because I wanted people to know that this wasn't some cockamamie, like baloney, like pass the buck advisory committee. I wanted them to know that it's real. They're going to do real work, that they're recognized as a real issue. But like in all things, we have to prioritize what we can tackle. They were going to look at health insurance, hoping to look at retirees, but the reality is the number one thing that we have to focus on as a county is recruitment retention. The CSEA represents the current members. So what we did come up with was a scheme, a system, right? They came up with models of all the different counties in the area, what they pay, their employees pay as a share of health insurance. And the top amount of the contribution, I think for Putnam County, it was in the CSEA was 30%. If you're a brand new employee, 30%. Astronomically high when you compare to other counties. Some counties were 20%, 25%, 10%. It was a range. Now, I believe public employees need to contribute. Like, you gotta contribute to the health insurance. This isn't like a free thing, but it's gotta be reasonable, right? And it can't undermine our ability to recruit and retain employees. So what we did was we drove it down to 17%, which I think is fair. It's one of the best but I know folks who would affect, and you're talking about retirees.
Yeah.
But we have to prioritize those people that are here now.
But you're saying how that it was astronomical for somebody working 100% of their
Yes.
salary, that 30% was ridiculous. How can you not look at a retiree who's now losing 40% of their salary, but paying that 30%?
Well, there's collective bargaining units that represent the county's workforce that are all, those are union, and they represent their current and future retirees,
So they
right?
don't.
Future retire,
Well,
well,
the future retirees.
Future.
CSEA,
that's my point, that's my point.
CSEA doesn't, they don't represent retirees.
Correct, but they represent people now
Right.
and their interests as a future retiree, that's right. So what we have done is, we've worked with them, negotiated that 17% thing, which was important. And, you know, my personal opinion of what would happen if I didn't handle it the way that we did, was it wouldn't have been 17%. It would have been, well, let's give 20% to those newer people coming in, or 25%, and let's give the people that are no longer a better deal, and said, well, we gotta tackle this the right way, and tackle the problem. We have a recruitment and retention issue. We need to fill these vacancies to perform the essential functions to the county, the people of Putnam County. So we did that, but also in that last contract that we did with CSCA, it was a multi-year contract. A lot of people went around the last time said we wouldn't get these union contracts done. We got them all done. We inherited either expired or expiring contracts, and we got them all done. But in the CSCA agreement, and we could go through mediation, it specifies health insurance for retirees, but it put in the existing agreement, which I know you don't like. I know you don't like, but this is what I'm saying. 5 years ago, 6 years ago, whatever, that's the CSCA at that time, the union negotiates with the administration. Now that it's part of the contract, there's a point for them to negotiate from with the administration and the legislature moving forward. So we've made progress for those potential future retirees. We've made progress, but we have to prioritize that first and measure that financial impact. And then we can look at other retirees, there's a cost to it. There's a cost to it, and we have to see what that fiscal impact will be. And that decision was made many years before me.
I understand that, but, you know, we're not arguing that we shouldn't pay anything, but take a look at the 30%.
The fact that you have agreed that current employees at 100% salary should not pay 30%, how is it, you know, that nobody is understanding that with a retired salary, you know, most people, if they're lucky, they get their 60%, they work there 30 years. There's a lot of people that don't even get it, they're at 50% of their salary. So now you're saying that, okay, we're gonna help out everybody who's working 100%, but what about the people who are at their 50 and 60%, we're paying 30%? 30%.
Well, the people that are retired, I would say, I know you're saying as far as the retiree benefit, folks that have been working and are on the job for 10, 20, 30 years, we're never paying 30%.
But
I just don't want to conflate
right,
those
but you're
numbers.
saying the new people coming in,
Yeah.
that they're.
Well, they're making the lowest income, so
But
the lowest income's getting hit the highest.
But we're now,
Yes,
I get you.
we're making less than they
I
are, and how we.
So sometimes progress is incremental, and we have to measure and study to see what we can afford moving forward.
You have a lot of retired community living in Putnam County, and we're gonna.
Look, if you're asking me if would I have done that, you know, it's like I was
we're
there.
asking you to change it.
Well, it's not something I can do unilaterally.
Who's on this committee? That you say you have a committee.
So the committee did its initial work because we did say, look, you have lots of work that you have to go through. You need to prioritize the most pressing issue, which is we need to recruit and retain our workforce. We have people making $50,000, $40,000 a year with the high cost of living in the state, paying 30%. But we got to tackle that. We got to come up with this, and it took a long time. And quite frankly, it wasn't Ms. Russo, but you had legislators that tried to kill that. They had a proposal that they could have acted on, reviewed on in September, and they dragged it all the way through November to December. Now they can deliver it all they want. But you know what that did? That stopped the last quarter for it from taking effect. So the people that benefited from that change didn't benefit until January. They would have had relief back in September. But that, so, you have multiple, level, of branches of government that need to be supportive of this. That group can still meet. We asked them to prioritize the work on the most pressing matter, which was the health insurance. We couldn't hire, we had trouble hiring ADAs in the district attorney's office. We had trouble hiring people in DSS. We had trouble, and a lot of it, some of it's salary, and some of it's the benefits package. It's why, if anyone actually, went through watching our budget presentation, I don't expect you to, most people wouldn't do that. We did both. We looked, and I thought that was important. We looked at the benefit package. We gave a recommendation that was then put through in an MOA and settled on a contract with CSCA. That's the way to do it. So now it's set in the contract. But we also did a salary survey through an independent company called Catapult, which had been awarded, I think, the proposal or bid.
That's all well and good, it's not answering my question.
No, but we do that collectively. We have to prioritize those things first.
Yeah, but you're not even dealing with the retirees.
Well,
Who worked here for 34 plus years, and, yeah, it's nice to get new hires, but we're making less money than they are now, but we're paying more insurance. So, so you're saying to me, and probably told the other retirees, I don't know where they are, but, we saw the thing on the Facebook that your house was going to come and chat with you.
Sure.
They don't care about retirees. You
I
retire.
reject that entirely because
Okay, but
so what I would say is, look, progress is incremental and you have to measure it, and we have to take care of the most immediate pressing issue, which is recruitment and retention. No one has even touched that. We're the first ones to do anything like that. So we made major progress when no one was even paying attention to it. So we have to start there, and then we can consider other things, but tax relief affects retirees that live in Putnam County. All these other things also affect retirees that live in Putnam County. And some of these benefits are very, some of the best health insurance plans that you can get. So those are things that I think we can look at too. The people that were on the committee, I don't want to put too much pressure on them. I don't know if there's any scheduled meeting that they have again, because we want to get this through.
We like to be in that committee.
Absolutely.
Well, don't you think there'd be a little conflict of interest?
No.
Okay. So
You said you have a CSDA member on the committee.
I did, yes.
That's
Fair.
they're not fighting for retirees.
Fair.
They don't
So-
fight for current employees either.
No, I know.
Well,
They
they're
don't.
gonna be.
They don't.
Oh, CSCA.
CSCA
You
is
should agree to
terrible.
it. I mean, they went from 30% contribution share to 17%. I think that's pretty darn generous.
I was president of the union for years when I was a county employee, and
Being that it's in the contract,
I'll
instead
talk to you
of
after, make a couple
17%.
comments.
Yeah,
You know
no.
what?
But bring that 30%.
I think-
I'm not saying that I shouldn't pay anything.
I think they're two
but
separate
I'm saying-
issues that you have to look at independently. And you have to prioritize what is the most pressing issue, and progress is sometimes incremental. It's something that I'm happy to continue to look at. We've talked about it before.
I know, you don't like when I post comments on Facebook about.
Do I ever complain to you about it?
Not if.
Have I ever?
No,
complained?
there you go, it's just John.
I've never said anything. I've never said anything about that. I've never said anything. I've never replied.
So they
look,
don't reply, that's why I get upset.
well, I'm sorry you're upset, but like, we've talked about this. It's not like this isn't a
Oh, I know.
conversation you haven't had before. So, look, and we've talked about this before. I've talked about it independently with some of the union leadership and other folks. I personally feel that if you're going to make changes to a health insurance scheme like that, as a leader, my feeling is retirees are off limits. I think it may not have been, and I think part of the issue wasn't part of the contract. It wasn't part of the contract for you. Now it is set in the contract, so there's a point for them to have some leverage to negotiate from. But even if it's not in the contract, as a leader, there's somewhat of a social contract. You don't go after retirees retroactively, because your plan, and even if it is a sweetheart deal, because sometimes you'll get people that are I'm pretty conservative. You'll get people that are more conservative than me that are like, they shouldn't get anything. Well, look, even if it's a sweetheart deal, which I don't believe it is, you gotta pay for, people have to pay for a mortgage, they gotta pay for children's college tuition. They make all these plans based on what they expect their retirement's gonna be and their financial plan's gonna be. You can't just pull a rug out from underneath retirees like that. So I've always felt retirees are off limits if you're gonna do something like that. It's also like when the state has done some of these other issues that have been problematic with the tier system, they don't just group in people with tier 4, they do tier 5, tier 6. And then after it becomes a disaster, they try to fix it. So
what can we do to keep this
I'm happy to.
a discussion and change it?
Get on the list.
I'm happy to be engaged and talk to our Commissioner of Finance and see if the committee is going to be meeting again.
Bill is an absolute no on this.
Does his wife gets free health benefits from school?
Let's not make this personal.
Oh, I talk about that all the time. But it's true.
John, let's
Because there are people in the government.
I don't want to be personally attacking anybody.
I'm not attacking Bill, I like Bill, but some people, they get free benefits, whether their family's a police officer, or they work for the College Central School District.
It's in the contract.
Oh, they get jobs too. If they
Well,
know somebody, they get a
well,
job.
Unfortunately,
County executives in the past,
I voted no for when they changed that whole thing for retirees in, they decided the legislators, I was trying to fight that. And unfortunately, people weren't concerned about the retirees and
There's a lot of
I know
people.
now that I am, who's gonna be concerned for the
So
retirees?
look, the most vocal person
Percent raise, but
that I would
insurance
prefer,
would
because I watched
say
it.
more than you get a raise.
I didn't even know I was being
That's what I'm
something.
saying.
I was like, whoa. Chris York was a member of the committee, and he eviscerated them. It's one of the reasons why I had him on the committee for this group, because I wanted to know real. I know they wanted to talk about other things too. I think there was, maybe not all of them, but the reality is, if you put too many opinions in one group, nothing will get done if there's not, you have to build around consensus. Okay, so there's disagreement on some of these issues. What can we all agree on? We can all agree on that the health insurance share for our current employees is too high. Yes. Okay, yes. Okay, we can all agree that maybe this 0 is too low. Yes. Okay. So then you start to work towards it. So let's look at what Dutchess County, Orange County, Rockland County, Westchester County, let's look at those. So then we sort of say, well, look, could you do a tiered system model where you have, it scales down or scales up? Well, a lot of debate around that. Well, can we all agree that any of these proposals that we have would be better than the status quo? Yes. So we start introducing other topics that are controversial with folks. It can derail any progress from happening. So prioritizing the most pressing issue is what I think we have to do and is likely to do. Otherwise, nothing would have gotten done. And at the end of the day, too, even when we did that, and they had a beautiful presentation, and they all went and advocated for it, the legislature still kicked it down the can about another 4 months. So, now that that's done,
Right.
I think we're in a position that we can revisit and talk about that too. But I want to make sure it's something that taxpayers can also afford. I feel like we're fortunate. We have one of the best bond ratings that you can get in New York. Fortunately, Rockland County got AAA, so I'm very proud of them, a little jealous. We don't have AAA bond rating, but we've been able to finance capital projects now by paying cash and not borrowing unnecessarily with these interest rates that are through the roof. So that's really important, I think, for the future financial health of the county. So we want to make sure that we don't, I'm not just planning for the now in 2026, 2027. I'm thinking of future generations with a mission and a vision for the next 10, 20 years, long beyond my term of office, because I'm not going anywhere. I'm raising my family here. I'm going to be a future retiree, so everyone that this
Then
year
you're
is
gonna be forced to move out. When you retire, you're
Well,
gonna have.
that's why I do everything I do to try to,
We
what
did
kind of
that,
executive you
we
see?
did everything too to try to live here, and now we're here. So,
And it's not just the fact that we're paying 30%,
A lot of our retirees are.
the amount goes up every year. And I've been.
I'm sorry, can you say that
I
again?
said, it's not just the fact that we're paying 30% of our insurance. That insurance is going up every year. $1,000 a year I've seen since I've retired that it has increased. So, it's getting to be somebody's gotta do something.
Well then, so I hear some folks here are upset about the tax burden. If the cost of insurance goes up, and it's more of it's borne by the county government, it's gonna be paid for by taxes.
Right.
So there needs to be an understanding of what the county can financially sustain and support.
And you're.
And also,
there too.
like, does it make sense? And so those are all decisions that we have to make, and I'm a big believer in prioritizing spending.
You're gonna
So we have to
pay for it.
prioritize those things that are
Oh, we
the
understand
most
that.
important,
We understand.
and that's what we have been doing and working towards. It doesn't mean that we dismiss or ignore other issues, it just means that we're trying to be results oriented and get things done. We're getting things done that people may have talked about for years, but haven't. So I feel like we made a lot of really important progress. Retirees is another outstanding issue that we have to look at.
The problem is, when we got hired by the county 35, 40 years ago, whatever time it was, you know, the incentive was that, oh, you retire, you're gonna cost your health benefits to be very minimal. And all of a sudden,
They think that's minimal.
huh?
It's minimal to them.
Well,
What you're paying them
but-
is
well-
probably minimal to them.
no, but it was a lot less, I mean, you know, that's the bill of goods that the county sold you that. I know, you know, you have a little pension, you have health benefits, and, you know, they came, just, there was
There's a lot, look, a lot of the, the defined pension system,
yeah,
benefit system, pension benefit system, it's really only lasted for most side within the public sector side. Like Con Ed doesn't offer it to a lot of its folks anymore. So that is a big benefit. A little less so, depending on who you talk to, maybe tier 6. So there's a lot of discussion about the state making adjustments there.
you
But we're
know,
always mindful
what
of.
other counties, they get free benefits when you retire, like Westchester?
Well, look, there's distinctions that have been made over the last many years. Law enforcement traditionally goes down to 0, and it's
And the
kind
county
of
executive-
contractual.
I'm 100% for that. I'm, you know, law enforcement should get whatever they ask for. I believe that they put their lives on the line. I have no, I have no issues with that. I feel that they don't get enough in some cases. However, I'm not asking to not pay insurance. I'm just asking not to pay 30%. That's ridiculous. It's just an astronomical amount to be asking me on retired salary because now I have to work a part-time job just to cover that.
Look, I hear you, I'm listening,
So
and
what can
it's,
we do from now, like you
we
situated that thing with
you
the
can
current
sell-
salaries and the current,
made, that was a big step. No one's ever done that
and
before.
so,
No one in this county has ever done anything like that before. That was a big step. And that's the first, and that was the most pressing, that was a very important need. It's not good for us to be understaffed in our district attorney's office. It's not good for us to be understaffed in social services or our health department, not being able to hire nurses. So all those things, very pressing. We need to get that done. But I would say, so you live in Carmel or Southeast San John?
Well,
I thought so. So I wasn't sure. I thought so. I would certainly encourage you to reach out to your legislator too. I'm not the only person in county government.
I know, but
To highlight it as an issue, nothing stopping it, we're putting something on an agenda to talk about it. And I can certainly re-engage our Commissioner of Finance and Finance team. He's our interim Commissioner of Finance. I know some people thought that he was coming back forever. I gotta tell you, I wish he would. I think Bill Carlin's awesome. I think he is a blessing for this county. But the reality is, I'm grateful to him for coming back in a manner that I think we needed him. He does not want to, because he has a family and he wants to be retired. So, so we do need to fill that position at some point, hopefully not too distant future, and re-engage. I know you do.
I don't think you do.
I know you do, but I'm not angry about that, John. Like, you're advocating for yourself. That's fine. It's your responsibility.
Whoever I can say, I advocate.
I know you do.
But the previous county executives, they would never negotiate with us, CSA for retirees. They don't want to touch it.
Well, because, I don't think the union represents the current retirees. That's it. So I'm going to make a distinction, so future retirees don't get treated different, or like, if they don't,
But they
I would say if we change something for future retirees, even my personal opinion, it would be wrong to not make it right with the current retirees, even if you're not contractually obligated, right? So that might help give you a little bit more of a lens or perspective as to where I am. That's important. They're now in a position where they can try to negotiate for future retirees that are current employees.
Right, so what about the current retirees? Again, go to our legislators, who's going to help us in getting something done? Who's gonna do that?
Look, I'm listening to you right now. But can you, I mean, you've been around a long time, John. Can you remember another exec that's done anything like this? I don't remember. So this is one of the reasons, so, but you're not just speaking to me, you're speaking to other people in the room. So other people get to hear you, other people get to listen, because, and then I get to hear their feedback as well, not just yours. And I ultimately, it's what helps me make informed decisions.
Right.
You know, if you remember back in like 2010, like Tea Party and all that, there were people trying to obliterate defined pension systems and benefits, right? That's never been me. But also, if you are going to have a defined pension benefit system, if you are going to have things like very strong health insurance benefits, well, then that also has to be factored into, well, then you're not going to be making $200,000 a year as your salary, right? So you have to look, well, but you have, if that's the benefit, then well, maybe, I don't know the way inflation has been, or maybe in 20 years it will be that, I don't know. But the reality is, you have to look at that together, which is why taking care of the people that I'm responsible for right here and now, the close to 700 employees that work, including the seasonal and temporary employees, all of them, I have a responsibility to make sure that they're safe, that they're cared for, and that we can fill those positions so we can meet our obligations to all the residents.
Not argue that. I understand that.
So we've done that, right? And we did it, I think, systematically the right way by looking at both salary and benefits separately. They looked at them separately. We had an independent firm, and we had an independent advisory group present to me. And then I looked at them together, and they made recommendations to the legislature. Legislature made some changes. So on the salary side, they made all sorts of increases to other salaries that they felt made sense. So I get that. Sure. So I know I probably didn't give you the answer you want, because you wanted to be like, Kevin's going to cut our retiree health insurance benefits right away. You know I can't say that.
Right, I know you can.
But I hope I'm giving you enough information to let you know that I'm not blowing you off. I'm not ignoring you. Being mindful of all the comments that you're making. But hopefully you can recognize where I am and that I need to prioritize those people that are doing this job right now, where we have a lot of vacancies that we need to fill. Otherwise, we can't do our job. We can't
I
care for
understand that, but we also want you to hear from not just me, every time I see how to go wherever a certain function, that it has to have another voice that.
That's important.
Right.
Thank you for coming. I'm sorry, I didn't get your name.
Amy Napolitano.
I'm sorry, what?
Amy Napolitano. I worked in probation with John. I also worked in social services for many years before going to probation. So.
Thank you for everything you've done. It's a special kind of person.
I know people, the job isn't just about, the money, and unfortunately, I'm in a position now where I didn't expect that I would be.
Well, it's a special kind of person that works in human services. Some folks don't recognize or appreciate it, but a lot of folks that work in our DSS or work in job protective services, or we're dealing with some very difficult stories and circumstances and families, and it takes special human beings to do that work. Very tough.
My reason for going in there was, that I knew that I'd be secure when I retired, and it's no longer that situation. I've dedicated almost 34 years to this county, and I do feel that it's like a slap in the face to me.
I think that's the way of the world now. I just
Yeah,
34 years.
No.
And again, yes,
So
everybody has
can
their.
I ask you when you retire?
2020, December 2022.
I'm just curious. This was before I took office. But
So are you tier 4?
Yes.
Yes.
So your benefits, they're supposed to be paid after you retire.
Pension
You did 30 years.
Not in this
No,
county,
not
not in this
for-
county.
Because New York
It is
State,
different.
that's the way it
So
is,
initially,
with
they
CSEA. With tier 4.
Retirees pay 10% of their
No.
insurance for many, many years. But the legislature.
Yeah, because their benefits are paid.
John's correct.
Yeah, the legislature
Right.
changed that, I don't know how many years ago.
There was a legislative, required resolution
There was a
for
rule
certain health
written down.
insurance. It is unique. But that's one of those big nuggets in the contract with CSCA now is, it was never in there, now it is. It's in there, which means they can negotiate, but it's the status quo is in there. But now that it's in there,
What is in
other
there?
executives, basically the current agreement for retirees.
That does you no good.
Well, no, it's important because before prior administrations could say, we're not negotiating on that, it's not mandatory.
Yeah, but now they're all tier 6, correct?
Yeah.
New hires are
Not
all
all, we
tier
have
6.
people that have worked in the county for
No,
years.
new
still, so they're
hires,
not- they're not
new
just-
hires are tier 6.
That's what I'm saying, they did away, right.
New
So they're not protected with the tier 6 with that?
No,
New hires.
no, I think we're getting too much in the weeds here. Our contract with the county of Putnam, with the CSEA,
Right.
and with other, we have other bargaining units too. We have the PCSEA for corrections union, we have the PEA, PUMA is a mid-level management union, which is kind of unique in Putnam. But there are terms that are spelled out and agreed to between the county of Putnam and the collective bargaining unit.
Right.
So in that, it's public, you can look at it. In that, if it's part of an existing contract, it's gonna be something that they can negotiate from in the future. But that's now in there, when in the past, it was never in there. So it wasn't a subject to negotiate, so you weren't able to negotiate with them years ago, because it wasn't in the contract. In the future, now they can, because it's in there. So that was a big deal for them, because that was kind of like that was a big milestone. So incremental is what I would say. I'm sorry, Laura, you had another question, because I don't want to ignore anyone. If you just raise your hand, I'll try to get this.
On Fair Street, we have section 8 housing, I'm sure you're aware of that.
Yeah.
In the contracts for section 8 with the landlords, there's no requirement for the landlords to make sure that their garbage gets dumped in the proper way. So I brought this to the town meeting several times because on Fair Street, there's like 8 houses that continuously, on a regular basis, dump furniture and trash. And it stays there for months. Right now, as I speak today, there's a dresser and a chair on Fair Street since May. I have brought it to the building department, I brought it to the town supervisor, I brought it to your office, and it's all been ignored. Except for, Brett Yaris paid himself for some garbage company to come over the summer and pick up that garbage. So I want you to have landlords in their contracts with the county for section 8 housing to be responsible for the trash.
I think you might, I'll have to look at that when I get back to you. I think there might be a misunderstanding of what you think the county's role is in contracts with section 8. So I think we need to get you some more information so I can help you. I'm more than happy to write a letter to property owners that register a complaint with them to try to enforce it.
They've had complaints, the building department, Dominic, I think his name is, he's been on it, it's been ignored. Right now, there's a dresser outside with a chair for over 4 months.
There's different degrees of influence that we have at Fair Street.
So I
There's a
think
massive
so.
construction project going on right now.
And the construction guys have to move those dressers every
It's
day.
and it's on private property, it's a big
They're
problem.
moving the dressers because the dressers are in their way.
Yeah, I'm not the one that's approving section 8 housing, so I think there's
I don't know,
a
I tried
misunderstanding.
everything, I called your office, I asked to speak to you, I never got you. This is going back a year ago.
So what I would ask too is that, look, there's multiple ways to reach out. Like, if you want, call the office, they will ask for an appointment, and we'll do our best. If you want it, if you're gonna be demanding, you need to meet with me. you know, you might have to be a little
I
patient.
didn't demand
So-
to, I think Chris took the call, I think.
Can I finish? If you want to meet with me, we're gonna ask to be patient, so we can spend the time to meet. We're gonna ask what it's about, but to the extent we're gonna, if one of our members of our team can help you sooner without meeting with me, we wanna help you sooner rather than later. And we might ask you, hey, can you send us something in writing?
No.
So we can send it to the appropriate department, we can send it to a state agency, we can send it to, I'm not against sending it to a private property owner to register a complaint.
I don't have a problem with Section 8. I have a problem with all the dumping on Fair Street with the town, with everything I'm paying and the road being redone. It's a mess. It looks like Harlem, quite frankly. I feel like I'm driving down the South Bronx when I go home. So it's really
a
sad.
construction site, yeah.
No, it's not the construction site, it's the garbage. And it's sad.
Well, you're mixing, I guess, I feel like you're mixing a construction site with a separate issue,
Yeah.
dumping with a private property owner. We're happy to help, but there's limitations to what we can
Okay,
enforce.
I understand that. But
I've done this,
nothing's been done.
whether it's utility, right to utility, and copying the public service commission, reaching out to them.
So I
We
would
work
like
with
you
the
to look
town.
into that and then let me know how I can fix it or what I have. to
Sure,
do.
I'm gonna ask you to give us something more specifically, give me an address. So we can look into it.
89 years.
It's right down from the high school.
Yeah,
That
it's
parking
across the
lot.
street from, you go out of the park.
You get in trouble if you start this going on someone's property. And
I'm not on their property.
No, but I can't, it's foolish for some, I'm just gonna say, it's foolish for someone to privately pay to go on your property, you trespass your property and take things that's on there and take it to a dump. You can't do that.
Well, the garbage company was there.
Okay,
The
so,
guy was there who she pays. I asked the guy, I got out of my car, I said to the guy, could you take the dresser? He said she didn't tell me to take it.
if someone's dumping on the right of way, it's a little bit different.
It's the tenants.
So that's
Every time the
different,
tenants
that's
move out.
against the law, if you're pulling that dumping.
She goes through tenants like crazy. Every time they move out, they dump. So,
Okay,
right now, it's been there for at least 4 months.
yeah, most of
Mike
that,
Pizzari knows about it, the building department knows about it, they don't.
it sounds to me like you haven't talked to, maybe to your supervisor, your town board, and town hall, I'm not sure. Well, listen,
Supervisor, that's Pizzari.
yeah, it
I
sounds to me,
went to 3 meetings already, face to face with him about it.
okay,
I talked to him, nothing's getting done, so that's why I went to you last year.
sure.
Because nothing was getting done, you're his boss, aren't you?
No,
Well, who is?
no, so,
You're the tax.
Oh, well, he does Zippo for me.
no.
Because it's not.
No, I'm not, the governor,
Yeah,
the governor
right.
sure, I'm sorry, the governor sure shouldn't hate my boss either. So like, I'm independently elected, supervisor's independently elected, your town government, a town hall in Kent, right here, has separate responsibilities and empowered by you, the voter, the citizen here in the town. They have responsibilities. They fund your town police department, they fund your town highway department, they fund so many important things, they support your local libraries, right? The county performs a lot of the more mandated functions from the state doesn't do. We do a lot of the human services, the 911 dispatch center, we have different responsibilities. And New York has counties with a lot more core functions of government because of the size of our state. You go to Connecticut, everything that Putnam County does, the state government does. So it's for most people.
So Pizzari sent a letter to public housing.
Okay.
It wasn't housing, I told them, it's not the housing. They don't have any
Right.
jurisdiction on this land. So where do I go? And he kind of washed his hands of the whole thing. Last week he texted me, no, I said the building, I told the building department to go check it out.
I know you guys want, in case I want to ask if you have any questions too, I would say too, reach out to our office, comments on social media are not like, I'm not trolling through people's Facebook pages and groups. I don't do that. I have too much work. I'm too busy dealing with 27 divisions, departments. I try to engage where I can. Or reach out to our office, send us an email, give us a call,
Where do
come
I
to a
send
meeting.
my information?
Sure, we'll give you a card, we have a card right here. If you're looking, well, Laura, can you get Jack, they should.
Kevin, I just feel, I'm here 40 years, when Mary Ellen,
Miss, I'm sorry, I got it.
no, I understand.
Well, make sure, Jackie, can you get this, this that you want, a card? Thank you, I'm sorry, I felt like you felt this was about something else.
Because it said that.
Not on what we should.
No.
No.
It said on the school board, it said
bring your NICEAG issues to.
That was a personal resident that wrote that, not the.
Yeah, it was, so,
But I'm from Brewster, so I came
Well, it's good that you made,
Yeah.
yeah, you should know.
That's okay.
Well, what are the things, so one of the things that gets a bit better.
So I know when you're having those meetings.
Putnam County Gov is where we share all of our visual correspondence. There was no county government social media presence for the most part. That was a defunct page that no one posted for over a year. It had less than like 1,000 following, wasn't verified. We consolidated and have a professional social media presence for the county government right now. It's at Putnam County Gov, it's verified, and we also have one for the health department and emergency services. So that's where we put stuff on social media. But PutnamCountyNY.gov is the most credible, verified place to get information about county government.